Hello, welcome back to our last lesson in the concept of parabolas. We're going to do some problems where we have to complete the square, take the parabola given to us, and basically figure out the vertex, the axis of symmetry, the focus, and things like that, like we did in the last lesson. But at the very end of this lesson, we're going to actually do a few inequalities that involve parabolas. So stick around for that because we haven't done that before at all. So the first parabola we're going to be given is going to look like this. We're going to say this: y squared minus 8x minus 6y minus 3 is equal to 0. Now this, of course, doesn't quite look like a parabola. That's because it's not in vertex form. But you know it's a parabola because you have a square term on one of the variables, but in this case y, but the x variable doesn't have any square. Now we want to transform it to vertex form so we can read the vertex off, we can read the value of a, and we can sketch it and all of that, which is what we're trying to do. We want to figure out the vertex, the focus, the directrix, the axis of symmetry, and we also want to sketch this thing. First thing to notice is that the y has the square. This y, of course, isn't squared, but the y has the square and the x doesn't. So this is going to open left or right. If the x had the square, it would open up or down. So this one we know is going to open left or right off the bat. So what we want to do is move all of the variables that have the x terms to the left, the ones that aren't squared, and all of the y terms to the right-hand side. So the x term is negative 8x. The constant is going to stick around with him. And on the right-hand side, we're going to move the y terms to the right, and this is going to move to the right to become plus 6y. So make sure you understand, this stays the same, this stays the same, this becomes negative moving it over, and then this one switches signs to positive to move it over. Now what we want to do is complete the square on the thing that is squared over here. But we can't do it because there's a negative 1 in front. We have to get rid of that before we can complete the square. So on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, it'll just be negative 8x minus 3. On the right-hand side, we'll factor out a negative 1. Let's do it like this. Negative 1. And then inside we'll have y squared minus 6y. This is exactly the same as the line written above. But now what I can do is I can multiply the right by negative 1 and multiply the left by negative 1. When I multiply the right by negative 1, the negative 1 is going to go away, y squared minus 6y. When I multiply this by negative 1, it'll just be 8x plus 3. So I multiply this by negative 1 to give me this. I multiply this by negative 1, and this just goes away. Flip sign there. So now we are in a position where we can complete the square. Let me just double check myself. Yeah. We have this term right here, and we have 8x plus 3. On the right, we have y squared minus 6y. Now to complete the square, which is what we've done in the last lesson, we have to take 1/2 of what's in front of the y term. So it'll be negative 6 over 2, but we take that and we square it. If we add it to the right, we then must also add it to the left. Negative 6 over 2 squared. So we take 1/2 of this and then we square it and we add it to both sides. So on the left, we have 8x plus 3. This would be negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. On the right, we have y squared minus 6y, again, plus the 9. So all we did was we added 9 to both sides. So on the left, we have 8x plus, this is 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 8x plus 12. Let me just double check myself so far. Yeah. And on the right-hand side, we're going to try to factor this. Now, if we've done something wrong, we're not going to be able to factor it. So hopefully, we'll do y and y to give me y squared. This will be 3 times 3, and we'll try negative times negative. These will multiply to give me positive 9. This will give me negative 3y. This will give me negative 3y, which will add to that. So it appears that we have done everything correct. So what we want to do is, remember, on the left-hand side, in this case, we have the x